74 kilos has turned into an extremely fun weight class for a lot of people. You've got Andrew Howe, a sophomore at Wisconsin, coming off an NCAA championship, wins the U.S. Open. Both Paulsons are here now. Mike Poetta's here. Exciting weight. You've also got Moza Fay, who's been training here, Terry Madden, Lloyd Rogers, the other qualifiers. But what are we going to see at us, from a coaching standpoint? Obviously, we're Team USA, but in terms of maybe stepping back away from the coach's chair for a second and just looking at it from a sheer excitement standpoint, Andrew Howe has seemed to have bucked the trend that he's a slow, stalling type of wrestler by really scoring a lot in the Open and actually at the NCAA championships. What are we looking? We're going to see Howe, one of the Paulsons again, Poetta. Who do you like to mix that up? And should the fans pay special attention to this weight? Ben Askren too, maybe.
Yeah, Ben Askren as well. I think that the thing that was great about Howe is he came in, and I think some guys underestimated him. I know, for example, the Paulsons for sure did. They thought, hey, this guy's a college sophomore. Yeah, he won the NCAA tournament, but he's not good enough to beat me. Well, of course, he proved he was good enough to beat them. And I think anytime you have a younger guy come in and challenge an older guy, it's great for USA Wrestling as a whole. Because when guys aren't necessarily being challenged to a higher level, they tend to maybe not focus as much as they should, train maybe as hard as they should. So, we use the example a lot. Zeke Jones brings it up a lot, just the Dave Schultz, Kenny Monday rivalry. Now those two guys had to always train to beat the other one, or they weren't going to make the team. So that challenge was always in front of them. I think that's what 74 kilos has now, with Andrew Howe coming in, and of course the brothers. That's competition that you don't even have to stoke. It's already there for those guys. And Poeta, we took him to the World Cup. He made the World Cup team and wrestled against some of the top guys in the world and did a really great job. I don't think he was feeling real well at the U.S. Open. So I would look for him to come kind of frustrated and ready to take some guys out.
What about the Askren factor?
I don't know. He's kind of riding the fence right now. He's kind of half in MMA and he's half in wrestling. He's obviously a great competitor. I think he's got a winner's heart, and he expects himself to win every time he steps out on the mat. And because of that, I think attitude is a lot of it. I don't think you can ever count guys like that out. So I would expect him to come out competing and expecting himself to win. So that can be exciting. He's an exciting personality, exciting guy to watch out on the mat. He's got an interesting style about him. So I think with the other guys that we mentioned and him in the mix, it adds a lot to the weight class. And whoever comes out, I think it's going to be fun to work with them over the summer and get them ready to win a world title.
$84 kilos, returning world silver medalist Jake Herbert at the top of the food chain, followed closely by Bryce Hassman. And then it seems to be a little bit of a separation, but for that separation to close, do you expect the guys that have been working out here in the room, David Bertolino, etc., have they been doing enough to close that gap between the two? Because Hassman, after moving up to 96, comes back to 84 and does give Herbert fits. We saw that last year at the Olympic trials, the World Team Trials, going to 3 matches. And what's Jake Herbert going to have to do to fend off some of these guys?
Well, I think we're really, we're blessed as a coach staff here to be able to have Jake be a resident here, Bryce a resident, Dave Bertolino a resident. So, we're blessed to have the top 3 guys at 184 all training here. Now, the positive of that, again, is iron sharpens iron. Those guys challenge each other, they make each other better. The negative is it's tough to always, train against your top competition and sometimes every single day. But I think the benefits outweigh the costs, and I believe that Jake, he knows he has to continue to train as hard as possible because Bryce is right there always behind him. And I think a guy like Bertolino, we've been really proud of, a guy that kind of, he didn't place at the World Team Trials last year. He wasn't in a great training situation. And right now, Bertolino's wrestling better than he's ever wrestled his whole life. He's ranked higher than he's ever been his whole life. So he's really excited going into the trials.
As far as having a personality like Jake Herbert, as far as, again, speaking from a fan standpoint, what is one thing that maybe the fans can identify with a fairly jovial jokester like Jake Herbert?
I think he just keeps wrestling. I think his attitude is priceless. He keeps a good attitude. He's positive. He makes wrestling fun for himself, which I think is really healthy. And not only when he makes wrestling kind of fun for himself, it ends up kind of being contagious for guys around him. His training partners and his coaches. I think one of the most important things that we talk about a lot is having a great attitude that if you have a great attitude, your ability to accomplish your dreams in wrestling is drastically increased. And I think that's one of Jake's best attributes, is he has a great positive attitude.
I agree. And similar to Ashburn, I think Jake is a real confident guy in his ability, and he expects himself to win every time he steps out on the mat. But he attacks it in a fun and lighthearted manner. So he's in a real strong position. He's been doing great things, and I look to see a lot more great things out of him. That's a pretty deep weight class, really. There's a lot of talented guys there. We kind of have the top 3 guys in this room right now with Jake and Bryce and David Bertolino. Then you got some, Chris Perry stepping up and getting 4th place as a college freshman at the Open. That's pretty impressive. And then you got a handful of other guys who are right in there that are maybe that next level that are all looking to step up. Keith Gavin, Chris Pendleton, back off of a short retirement kind of deal.
Quentin Wright, fresh off University World Team Trials.
Really good at the Open. Did a great job here at the University Trials, winning the tournament. Probably Mac Loomis, college star that wrestled at the universities at that weight, and I think he's going to wrestle at the trials. But it's Jake's definitely in a strong position, but there's a lot of guys there. It's going to be interesting to see how that falls out.
'96 returning world team member Jake Varner was beaten in the Open Finals by J.D. Bergman, who's coming down and is probably the biggest 211 we've probably had the U.S. for. I don't know, you guys can probably think of somebody maybe just as big. Maybe Melvin Douglas coming back during his retirement, coming back maybe was a big 211. But what's it going to be for one, for Varner to get back to the top, 2, for Bergman to maintain his place at the top position, or somebody from behind like say Pat Cummins, Brandon Halsey, those type of guys, Andy Rovat.
Well, JD, he's been kind of injured in the past, but this has been kind of his year so far. I say his year meaning he's done really well at international tournaments. I'd say his year, he just stayed healthy, and he's been able to train high level of all of our training camps, and he proved it by going to the U.S. Open and wrestling extremely well, winning the national title. But then back to the competition is great, is that it's caused Jake Varner to kind of wake up and go, man, I'm going to have to really get serious if I'm going to make this world team again, in 2010. And I'm sure that's upped his focus even more. And the guys, it's great to see kind of 96 kilo get a little deeper, having Cummins come in. He wrestled heavyweight a little in the past, but this year he's pulled down to 96. I think he's been a great addition to that weight class.
Another big 96.
Yeah, he's a big 96 to create some more depth, and it's caused a guy, like Andy Rovat, hopefully to realize that the weight class is deeper. If he's going to make the world team, he's going to have to up his focus and commitment.
Now we probably move to what's traditionally been a very deep and successful weight. We talked to Terry Steiner about the depth of 72 kilos women's heavyweight, and of course Greco has always had depth there, and men's freestyle is no exception when you've got a world bronze medalist finishing second in the U.S. Open, and your top 2 heavyweights are Division II graduates. So a little bit of Nebraska flavor, Kearney and Omaha, right in Council Bluffs across the river. So deep weight, thoughts at heavyweight?
Really it's probably our most credentialed weight class right at the moment. With Travell being last year's bronze medalist and Les Sigmund doing a great job at the Open to defeat him. But then you also got Tommy Rowlands back in the mix, who's a previous world 5th placer, and obviously a real talented guy. And then you got a handful of other big young guys, Blake Gillis coming up, Don Bradley,
junior world champ.
Yeah, it's not going to get any easier, that's for sure. So I think that's really one of the weight classes everybody's going to be watching to see what's happening. Travell has done a great job at the World Championships last year, and then all year avenged the loss to the Iranian Masumi, and has really beaten pretty much everybody in the world, save for Makov, and I think he's right on the cusp of being able to figure that out. But then you got a guy like Les Sigmund who just believes in himself and comes out and wrestles great at the Open. So, I think that could be a really exciting weight class. You got a lot of talented, big, athletic guys
that don't want it to go to the ball draw either. These guys score, these guys shoot, these guys are athletic and they go.
that's a great thing about, I think, our heavyweight list this year and has been in years past, and hopefully will be in the years in the future, is that we have these heavyweights now that are attacking. We got guys that are shooting low singles and finishing out the back door, shooting high singles and finishing them in double legs. Aaron Allenspot pulls the trigger on double legs on a frequent basis. So we got some heavyweights that are shooters, which I think it makes it more entertaining for wrestling fans when it comes to heavyweight matches to see offense that level. In many ways, we got guys at heavyweight that have more offense than guys in our lower weight classes, which is that's a breath of fresh air.
Final thoughts heading into this weekend's World Team Trials? Fans, get there. Everybody.
Yeah,
Phil
fans,
Zadick,
get
you
there.
said everybody should be there.
Everybody's going to be there, man. It's going to be the center of the wrestling universe for the weekend, and I think it's going to be exciting from my standpoint as one of the national coaches. It's always interesting to sit back and see who comes through. We know who the previous performers are. There's always new surprises every year, guys that come in and step it up. So from that standpoint, I'm really looking forward to see how the team develops and who we're going to be working with and focusing on for the summer.
Well, it's going to be an exciting weekend, and I think anybody that's even close to the Iowa, Nebraska kind of border right there, if you're a high school wrestler or a high school coach, in my opinion, there's no reason why you shouldn't make the trek to Council Bluffs to go watch the best wrestling we have in the whole entire United States of America over 2 days. You're out of school, and it's an opportunity to get better at wrestling. And so I think as many fans as possible near that area, which I know there's thousands and thousands of wrestling fans within 100 miles, I would encourage you to show up, because this is for us, we call this our second biggest tournament of the year. Number one is our World Championships. This is our second biggest tournament of the year, and we as a coaching staff, as Coach Zadick said, are just really excited to see who's going to have the desire in the fight to come through next Friday and Saturday and make a world team to represent our country in Moscow in September.
Thanks for stopping by the U.S. Olympic Training Center. These guys are about to go takedowns. We'll see you next time.